Hey kids, it's me, Mr. Charizard. Today we're going to learn about insect life cycles, and we're going to have some help from a Pokemon friend, Weedle. Weedle's going to talk to us about. Whoa! Get that venomous stinger away from me, Weedle. I don't want to get stung. So be careful of some stingers. We're going to see some other insects that have other defensive characteristics or adaptations. All right, let's get going. All right, so I have a insect life cycle here that is one of my favorites. It's a ladybug life cycle. And we see that ladybugs have little tiny eggs that they lay. See those little tiny eggs? They would all fit on my fingertip. All those little eggs. So they're very, very small. And when they're ready to hatch, they hatch into what's called a larva. Can you say larva? It almost sounds like lava, but there's an R in there. Larva. Okay? And that's when they're little. They have a little head, a little body, and they're really hungry. So they're going to eat, and they love to eat something called aphids. If you've never seen aphids before, they're usually on the underside of a plant or a leaf in the garden. So next time you're looking around your garden or some plants in nature, look on the underside of leaves. If there's little white moving tiny fly-looking things, those are aphids. And maybe you would benefit from having some ladybugs in your garden to eat those aphids. All right, so when they're done eating aphids, they're all full. They got a lot of energy, a lot of nutrients. They move into the pupa stage. See this stage right here? They form this little cocoon, just like a caterpillar, right? And they don't move very much, but they are still very much alive in there. They're just metamorphosizing. They're changing what they look like inside. And eventually, after staying in there for a while, they'll kind of unzip like a jacket and step out of that shell, and they'll have wings, and they'll actually look yellow when they come out. They don't get red and black dots until a little bit later when they eat some more food, because I bet they're going to be hungry when they come out of this pupa stage. Okay? So when they come out of that pupa shell, they are called an adult ladybug. So pretty cool. This is what we call a life cycle. It goes through time, takes a lot of time, maybe about 300 days to go through this whole life cycle. So that is pretty cool. And since I like to talk about Pokemon and science, now let's look at some Pokemon that look just like these insect stages of the life cycle. So first, the Pokemon egg. All the Pokemon hatch out of eggs, and they all look very similar. This is like a 2K egg, but they usually look very similar to this. They don't have special eggs for each individual Pokemon. But today, we're going to make up our own life cycle, so we're going to make some special eggs that you think of today. And so this Pokemon hatches and is called Blipbug. Let's look really closely at Blipbug. I really like his name, Blipbug. We call things on a radar blips. Like if I saw something on a radar screen, I would call it a blip. It means something's there. So I think maybe that's why they chose Blipbug. I see that Blipbug has these really big glasses, so it means he likes to observe things. He's definitely looking at nature, looking at the world around him or her, and making observations and studying. Kind of sounds like a science Pokemon to me, and that's why I like it so much. We also see really tiny is a little bow tie. Blipbug is wearing this little tiny bow tie, and it's super adorable. And some of you might know a famous science guy named Bill. Bill Nye the Science Guy always is wearing his bow tie. So I think they're kind of saying that this is a very science-looking bug by giving it a bow tie. All right, so Blipbug evolves in Pokemon. When it levels up, it evolves into Dottler. And that's a little different than real life, right? This larva isn't going to evolve into a pupa. It's not really changing adaptations. It's not really evolving. It's more a metamorphosis. This is a life cycle. So they're metamorphosizing. They're changing their shapes and characteristics, but they always do that. That's just how it goes through time. So I think when I see a Pokemon evolve, I think it's going through time really fast. So I would say this is like the baby, Dottler is like the kid, or the pupa is like the teenager kid, and then we have the adult. So we see kind of this life cycle is going through time, okay? So Blipbug evolves in Pokemon to Dottler. Let's take a look at Dottler. And look how similar they are to their life cycle. So the pupa is all balled up into this little ball here, protecting itself. And we see Dottler has this really cool geodesic dome made up of triangles, which we know are a very strong shape. So I know that this is a very strong shell for this Pokemon. We also see that Dottler still has those big glasses on, so it still likes to observe. It's still doing some science research under that dome. And we see the bow tie has now become Dottler's little hands. So instead of a bow tie, it looks like Dottler is using those halves of bow ties as hands. Pretty cool. And the last thing I noticed is the name. Again, these names mean something. There's a reason why they named them this name. And it looks like Dottler sounds a lot like Doppler. Doppler is a way to study radar, and it looks like a big bubble, kind of like Doppler's dome here. So I think it's a play on a radar Doppler that lets us know when bad weather is coming. And that makes sense because Blipbug, remember I said blip, is like a little dot on a radar screen. So I'm thinking these are both radar related. Pretty cool. All right, so when pupa is done in here, when Dottler is done changing and getting wings, it evolves, or it changes to the next stage of the life cycle to Orbeetle. Orbeetle looks kind of like a ladybug on the top, but this lower half looks kind of new and interesting. And that happens a lot with Pokemon, is they get inspired by a real animal or a real place, or you know, a real thing, and then they add some cool features to it. So kind of top half is a normal ladybug, and then they added some spikes, right? These look like stingers. I would not want to be near these feet. They look like they could sting me and maybe get some venom in my system, and venom hurts. So I would want to stay away from those. And we see kind of in all of these stages a little bit of bright coloration. And as scientists, we know that ladybugs like to be colored bright red, not to hide, right? It's not a very good way to hide, but to stand out and say, hey, maybe I'm poisonous, and if you eat me, you're gonna get a stomachache. So that might be something to think about when you're making your own insects. Is it gonna be brightly colored? Is it gonna be telling things in nature, don't eat me, I'm poisonous? Or is it going to have stingers and fangs and things to bite or sting with and give venom and also protect your insect? Okay, so think about those things because we're about to make our very own insect life cycle. At first, I want to tell you a little more about Orbeetle, the adult evolution of this life cycle here, Blipbug and Dottler. Orbeetle, let's look at the name Orb. is something circular, right? So this orb definitely looks circular. And beetle, ladybugs are beetles, so that's a pretty cool name. I like all these names. I also see this bow tie is now Orbeetle's eyebrows. If we put Orbeetle's big eyebrows together, it would be like this really big bow tie. So we can kind of see a theme going through, right? We see the colors are very similar between Blipbug and Dottler, and we see the bow tie carry through. So try to think of maybe your favorite colors or something that you can draw that kind of is with every stage of the life cycle. That way we see it kind of that they all are part of the same organism. Okay, just different stages of its life. The last thing I noticed are these swirly eyes that Orbeetle have. And that's usually something Pokemon gives to psychic types. And Pokemon likes to give psychic types to really smart Pokemon like Mewtwo or Mr. Mime, Pokemon that can talk telepathically to you. So they're really smart. So what I'm getting from Pokemon here is that this is a very sciencey evolution, right? It looks just like a real life cycle of a ladybug, and there's tons of shout outs to science on every one of these Pokemon. So it's definitely one of my favorite evolutions, okay? Now let's see if we can make our own favorite evolution. All you need is a piece of paper and a pencil and maybe some coloring utensils like crayons, markers, or colored pencils. Today I have colored pencils to use. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make those 4 boxes. I'm just tracing through my paper here. I'm going to make those 4 boxes, one for each stage of my life cycle, just like that. And I'm going to make 4 arrows, just like we had before, so that I can follow the order of the life cycle. Pop quiz, do you remember the 4 stages of the life cycle today? It starts with egg. I'll give you the first one. What's the next one? Remember, follow the arrow. Egg. Larva, good job. Next one, that's right, pupa. And finally, we have the adult stage, okay? Now you can make your adult box a little bigger, or you can just draw it up here at the top. If it's not gonna fit, if you maybe are thinking of a very detailed, large insect or large bug, that's fine. You can make your box a little bigger if you want, depends on the size of your paper. But maybe you're asking, Mr. Charizard, why are we drawing insects? I don't really like bugs. I think they're gross and slimy, and they don't even do anything. Well, like I said before, this ladybug actually eats aphids, which eat our plants. So if you're trying to grow a nice big tomato plant and it keeps getting eaten by these pests, by these little insects, and you're having a lot of trouble growing healthy tomato plants because of these aphids, you could release some ladybugs into your garden and they would eat those aphids and help your tomatoes grow beautiful. So we call those beneficial bugs, bugs we want to keep around, okay? And if that wasn't reason enough, the whole idea of Pokemon came from the creator of Pokemon, Satoshi Najiri, and he loved to collect bugs as a child. He would go into the forest, into the woods in his neighborhood and collect bugs and study bugs, and he really wanted to be an entomologist, someone that studies bugs for a living when he grew up. But he also really liked to play video games. And so he took those 2 things that he really enjoyed and put them together and created a game where you could collect bugs and animals and plants and trade them with your friends. And that's how Pokemon started. One person's love of insects started this whole big world of amazing animals with amazing abilities that you can trade with your friends and try to collect them all. So that's why we're doing insect life cycles today. It's something that the person who invented Pokemon really, really enjoyed as a child and still does today. Okay, so I like to start with the egg. I think that's the easiest place to start. Typically, eggs are round, but maybe you want to make a square egg or a triangle-shaped egg. It's up to you. This is going to be your insect Pokemon egg. So maybe think about where your insect's going to live. Is it going to live in the woods, the jungle? Is it going to live in the ocean? Is it going to live in a volcano, a volcanic bug? I can think of some Pokemon that are volcanic bugs, right? Is it going to live in the sky? Is it going to be a flying bug that maybe likes to follow electric storms? Maybe it's a lightning bug that can actually shoot lightning. These are all things to think about, things to inspire you to make your very own insect, okay? I'm gonna think of an insect that's gonna live in the forest, so it's gonna need to be very adapted to that ecosystem. It needs to have some features that help it survive in the jungle. So I'm gonna just go with the standard circular egg. Nothing too fancy, put some dots on it. Just like the Pokemon egg. Okay. Nothing too special. So let's make it a little more special. I'm gonna put spikes all the way around it. That's gonna keep it well protected. If a predator sees this spiky egg, it'll probably think twice about eating it, right? I wouldn't want to eat something spiky like that. And I'm just starting with pencil. I'll go back in and color these things in, and that'll give them more story, right? It'll give them more life, more meaning. Maybe these spikes are going to be red, or you know, something very bright to say, stay away. Or maybe I'll just use my favorite colors. We'll see when we get there. For the larva, right, we're thinking of something kind of small. These larvae are very small, not too many features. I'm thinking of the smallest insect I know, an ant. And I've seen ants up close, magnified, so I kind of know what they look like. They kind of have this segmented body, and they have these really big pinchers, right? So we're gonna draw that. Give him some eyes. It's gonna need some legs. Okay, and I'm gonna give him some spikes on its back. Okay, kind of like a dragon or something, has scales pointing up on its back, and that'll be just for protection, right? It looked like it was only protecting itself from the front with these pinchers. I want it to be able to protect itself everywhere. Okay, so I like my larva. That's looking pretty good. And notice how I got inspired from a real animal or a real insect, an ant. So you can do the same thing. Think of maybe your favorite insect. Butterflies, I really like butterflies. And Butterfree is one of my favorite Pokemon. And Butterfree follows that same life cycle. So if you like Butterfree, maybe that'll be your adult stage as a butterfly. But then you can give it some cool adaptations like a tail or a stinger or maybe some fangs, and give it some cool new features, and maybe it's vampire Butterfree or something like that. So let's get creative and think of some cool insect life stages, okay? So after the larva is the pupa, right? So it's gonna be in a little ball. It's gonna be not moving too much, so it's not gonna have a bunch of legs for running about. It's gonna have something else. Well, I don't wanna make it a ball because I kind of already have a circle for my egg, but how about I make an octagon? Something with 8 sides here. Kind of looks like a stop sign design. And I like how Dottler had these triangles, right? Remember how I said Dottler has all those triangles, which scientists, we know, that is a very strong shape. So I want to take that idea for my Pokemon. So I'm going to give it a bunch of triangle shapes here. And how is it going to stick to the leaves or the trees? It's going to need some sort of sticky hands. So I'm going to draw these sticky circles all the way around so it can stick to the surface of the tree or the side of a tree or a leaf without falling off. Okay, so super sticky little outer edges there. And let me zoom in a little bit. And the adult is kind of going to be a little bit larger than the larva. So I might go outside the box. That's okay. So I'll start with the head. Do some similar features, but I'm going to make sure that these pinchers are much larger so we can tell this is the adult form. Whoa, those are really scary. They look like elephant tusks. They're so big. Okay, I'm gonna draw this body a little bigger and the abdomen a little bigger. And I think I'm gonna give it some stripes, like a bumblebee. Remember I said these bright colors tell nature something. It says, I'm poisonous or venomous. You better stay back or you're not gonna have a good day. I also wanna give it a stinger, right? A venomous stinger, like Weedle here has that stinger. Watch out for that. And I'm gonna give it some long legs with sharp points, kind of like needles or something. So maybe my insect's really good at digging. So this is gonna be maybe a ground type bug that likes to dig. All right, I like it. This is looking really good. All right, so now we can get to coloring. And like I said, you can choose your favorite colors or use colors that say something about your Pokemon. Like if I was living in the water, I would probably use a lot of blue, right? In Pokemon, a lot of times colors mean types. So maybe if you have a fire type insect that you're working on, you use some red. These are just some suggestions. Electric type is usually yellow. Poison and ghost types are usually purple. Fairy, psychic is usually a pink or a dark pink for psychic. Grass is usually green. That makes sense. Some a lighter green, that's usually for bug types. So I'm going to use light green for bug types. I like pink and green, so I like those colors. And I want another bright color. I kept talking about how I like these bright insects. So I'm going to pick orange. Those are going to be my three main colors that I'm going to kind of use all the way through. So you know that this is part of one life cycle. These are all in one life cycle. Okay? So let's see. It's time to color. And again, you don't have to use colored pencils. I like colored pencils a lot. But you could use markers, crayons. You could even just use your pencil and do some shading, some pencil shading drawings if you're a really talented artist. Now, I'm not the most talented artist, but I'm liking my insects, and that's all that matters. If you know what your insect looks like and what inspired you to make it that way, you can kind of show that with some color, explain that. Maybe you could write a little story about your insect, because in Pokemon they have Pokedex entries, and that's what they do. They tell little stories about every Pokemon. So maybe when you're all done, you can write a sentence or two about each life cycle stage of your Pokemon, because it'll do different things at different stages, right? In the egg form, it's not going to be eating anything. It's going to be waiting to hatch. When it hatches into a larva, it's going to be eating all the time. non-stop. And then again, when it goes into its pupa form, it's going to stop eating. So maybe that's something you could talk about in each of these stages. Okay, so I just used all those 3 colors. I chose pink for the outside, just kind of, they look scarier if they're bright. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do each of these segments of my larva different colors. Pink, green, and orange. Just my favorite 3 colors. And I'm going to use black, some black for the eyes. You can make them colored. You can make blue eyes or green eyes or brown eyes, whatever you want. I think I'm going to put these pinchers as red. I was talking about I would like that. They just look a little more ferocious when they're red, don't they? Same with these spikes. I want these spikes to be nice and red, so no one comes to eat my larva. I want it to survive, right? I'll give it some black legs here so you can see it a little better. Looks pretty good. I'm liking all my insects today. Here, I'm going to make kind of a wheel. I'm going to do one pink, one green, one pink, one green. So I'll skip a space, do a pink one, skip a space, and skip a space. 4 of each. That's perfect. 4 plus 4 is 8. And that's why we call this an octagon, because it's got 8 sides. And I'll use orange here on the outside. So it looks very similar to my egg, but completely different. But you would probably be able to tell that they're part of the same life cycle, right? I didn't teach you anything today and I just showed you a picture of my insects. You could probably tell that they're part of an evolution tree in Pokemon or a life cycle in the real world. Okay. So this one, I'm gonna make its legs green. Maybe I'll do a dark green because it's evolved. Yeah. And I think these legs look like a pine needle. If you've ever seen a pine tree, you know it has these pine needles. So maybe this adult insect lives in a pine tree or a pine tree forest, and it's going to blend in really well with those needles. So you won't even be able to see it. It's going to camouflage in. And again, I'm going to give it some red for the needle, the stinger there, and for the pincers, the chompers up front there. Because I don't want to hide those. Those I want every predator to see so that they don't even try to come near. Okay. And remember I said these stripes kind of remind me of a bee. Bees are venomous. They have stingers that are venomous. So I'm going to give this one kind of a yellow jacket look with those yellow stripes. This will really stand out nicely. And then I'll just do the rest in orange. I like these colors. They're kind of going together very well. I can see that I'm getting inspired from real insects, real animals. Do an orange head, just like my larva had an orange head. And do the black eyes too. So the head didn't change too much, it just got bigger. Whoa, oh, those almost look like glasses. Maybe I'll give it some glasses, just like Blipbug and Doppler. I do like that. I'll give my larva a little bit of little glasses down there too. Oh, those look great. How did yours turn out? Awesome. Great job. Now that we have them all drawn and colored in, we can start to name them. I like to name them when I'm finished. It gives me some time to get to know them, look at their features, and maybe that'll help me come up with a name. If you're struggling to come up with a name, don't worry about it. You can name them whenever. You can name them next year or next month when something comes to you. But right now, I'm just gonna go look at each one and kind of see what I think. Well, this one looks like an ant, so I'm gonna call it Auntie. Super simple. It's not gonna be the best name ever created, but I like it. And if I like it, that's all that matters. So I have Auntie. So I'm gonna have this theme, the Y theme. Everything should end in a Y now. That's what I wanna do. The pupa, this one over here is gonna be called Rolly, because it could roll. It's kind of circular shaped. So I got Auntie evolves into Rolly, evolves into, you probably guessed it, Pointy. Yes, since it's got its stingers, its pointy arms and legs, its big pincers, it is a very pointy insect, so I like Pointy. And then the egg doesn't really need its own name. We would just say it's Pointy's egg. Okay, this is Pointy's egg. It hatches into Auntie, the larva form, then it evolves into Rolly, the pupa form, and then it evolves into Pointy, the adult form. Very cool. There's the life cycle. Now, if you want to do some extra things, we can do that. We can give each Pokemon a type, right? So maybe this is Bug Ground type, because it walks on the ground. Rolly could be Bug Ground too. And I like Pointy being Bug and Ground type as well. But look at your Pokemon. Maybe they change. Maybe your larva could swim, and maybe your pupa could swim, but then your adult can't swim, but it can fly. So maybe those would be different types. You'd have a water bug, and then a flying bug, right? Kind of like Butterfree, right? Butterfree has a bug type, a caterpillar, a bug type, a chrysalis or cocoon, and then it has a bug flying type, the butterfly, right? Butterfree. So think about different types of Pokemon, where your Pokemon lives, that usually helps, or even what color it is. Remember I said if it's all red, it's probably going to be a fire type. So think of some of those things. You could also make your very own evolution stone. There's these stones or rocks that help Pokemon evolve or fast forward through a step. And I know that there's no such thing as a poison stone, so I'm going to make up a poison stone. And things are poisonous usually give you a tummy ache, so I'm going to draw a P inside of this stone with its tongue out, like, I just got poisoned. And you might remember me saying poison types are usually purple. So I'm going to draw or color this purple for poison. I have this kind of blue. I'll make the P a little more traced. Use some black here for the face. There. So this is going to be my poison stone. So there's only a couple stones. There's no bug stone, so maybe you could make a bug stone today that looks like your bug. Or I bet it's going to be green, but I don't know. Up to you. What do you want to create today? What kind of evolution stone would you make if you could make any evolution stone in Pokemon? I would make the Poison Stone. And that, if I gave it to Rolly, would automatically evolve it to Pointy. It wouldn't need to wait time, okay? And if you're really looking for one more thing to do, if you've had a lot of fun drawing insect life cycles with me today, you can make a Gigantamax form. Some of you might not know what that means. In Pokemon, it just means a huge form, like as big as a house. Okay, so I can evolve or Dynamax my Pokemon to get huge, as big as my house. And so mine's gonna look kind of like Orbeetle's Dynamax form. We got this like UFO looking thing, and it's gonna be pointy, surprise. I'm gonna put points all over this. This is gonna be my Dynamax form. You could also do a Mega form if some of you know Mega Evolutions. Mega Evolutions are happening right now in Pokemon Go. Everyone is trying to get their Mega Evolutions. So maybe that is on your mind. I'm going to give him some more glasses, I think. Okay. Really big glasses. Okay, so that's my Gigantamax form, as big as a house. It would be a flying bug, I think, so it could fly above the ground. Very cool, very fun. All right, so I hope you had a lot of fun drawing along with me, creating some insect life cycles. That's all the time I have for today. See you next time, kids. Bye.